motivating and empowering women. Emphasizing knowledge of power to create, nurture, and transform lives to come. It's definitely going to be a great time in the Ladies Lounge tonight with your host, Kathy B. To advertise on Ladies Lounge, contact Kathy B at kathyb@sourceradionetwork.com. Now, here's your host, Kathy B.
Nation, good evening and welcome to the Ladies Lounge. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about 2 hours before we lose a live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. Well, you guys know that we've already launched the Love Zone Book Club. That's right, but I need more people inside of the book club, definitely speaking on the great articles that we are posting there. But, you know, I also need for you all to begin to share the page and join us every single Monday at 7 p.m. where we're speaking on relationships, focusing on longevity, success, and love. Well, I'm excited tonight because I have a beautiful young lady in the studio with me. You know, the last couple of weeks we've been focusing in on a beautiful collaboration of women that have come together to share their journeys. And the book that I'm speaking of is Women Inspiring Nations. And tonight I'm going to be speaking with a beautiful young lady, Miss Janice Boles. But before I bring her in, of course, tonight's show would not be possible without these amazing sponsors. And I want to take a moment to thank them now, and they are Meet My Types Matchmaking, Blend to Blend Juice Bar Boutique, Urban Grandstand Digital, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. Now, what we're going to do, Source Nation and the ladies in the lounge, we're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, Janice Boles in the studio with me. We'll be right back.
We'll be back, Source Radio Network, after this commercial break.
Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
Linda Fondren wanted Vicksburg to be the most fit city in Mississippi.
Walking is cheap. Life is priceless.
She got 2,500 neighbors to start walking with her.
Let's come together to help each other.
She wouldn't let them give up.
And we end up losing 15,000 pounds.
Linda helped reshape the community she loved, literally.
If you want to be happy, you got to be healthy.
Fitness. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
I'm giving you said you would always be there for me. I know that times get hard. Sometimes I say one thing and do another. You're so much better than me, and yeah, you love me. How can I take it all back? The pain that I given you. How can I make it all right? To show you my heart is true. Can't keep going this way. Know that I'm here to stay. I'm giving you all of my mind. I'm leaving this mess behind. I'm here, I ain't going nowhere. Right here, now is our time. Yeah. Come here, I'm giving you all of me. Stay here for the world to see. Yeah. Giving me more than I can ask for, but yet I still want more. Yeah, more of the worthless things that don't really matter. When will I realize that your heart is better? You have called so many times, and all I did was ignore you. You have shown me everything. I've only given you less of me. It's time now that I give you more. We have so much in store. I'm giving you all of my mind. I'm leaving that mess behind. I'm here, I ain't going nowhere. Right here, now is our time. Come here, I'm giving you all of me. Stay here before the world to see. I'm here, I ain't going nowhere. Right here, now is our time. Come here, I'm giving you all of me. I'm giving you everything. Stay here before the world to see.
Welcome back, Source Nation. Now here's your host, Kathy B.
Welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on the Ladies Lounge. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about an hour and 59 minutes before we lose the live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. Well, you guys know that for the last couple of weeks I've been speaking with some amazing women. What I love most about the women that I'm bringing into the studio, you know, they have all come together to put together an amazing collaboration. And the book that we're speaking on is Women Inspiring Nations. And the young lady that's coming in tonight will share her journey with us. I'm going to be speaking with Miss Janice Boles. But before I bring her in, especially if you hadn't had the opportunity to hear about what we're doing here in the Ladies Lounge, let me tell you a little bit about the book. Now, this book is designed to feature women who are using their gifts for the greater good, taking their gifts beyond the boundaries of their own zip code and being intentional about inspiring others by sharing their stories, their lessons, and their knowledge. Now, each contributing author will share the story about how they discovered their unique gift or calling in spite of life's distractions, whatever challenges they may be facing, ultimately walking in their greatness. I love that. Now, how they found the drive and focus to commit to process the most pivotal lessons that they've learned, the fears that they face, and now that they're using their gifts to impact and inspire others. say no other, I am going to bring this beautiful lady into the studio with me so she can share her amazing journey with us, Miss Janice Boles. Janice, hello, how are you? And welcome to the Ladies Lounge.
Hello, Kathy B. Thank you for having me. I'm truly excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, of course, Janice, you know I didn't give you a bio justice, and I'll tell you why. We've had the opportunity really to begin to share you with the Source Nation family and everyone listening here in the Ladies Lounge. So if you will, if you could take a moment just to introduce yourself and let the ladies know who you are, we'll jump into the conversation from there.
Sure. Well, as you know, my name is Janice Boles, and I am actually by day a realtor and a real estate and investor. I own a property. I own a company called B Premier Ventures, and I actually do property development with distressed properties. But my part work and my passion, which is the reason that I'm a part of this great collaboration of women, inspiring nations, is my journey with grief and grief recovery. I've had some. It's been a struggle, and it's been years of myself just going through a personal journey of grief. I lost my parents at an early age of 15 and 19, a brother at 21, and most recently a sister 4 years ago. So just the journey of living the years of not really fully recovering from grief and not being able to express myself and the depression that it brought about. I wanted to be able to come to a place in my life where I want to share with women how to recover and continue to move forward, and particularly with relationships that were unresolved. My journey in particular was with my sister, and she passed away in 2013. And, our relationship was not the best. We weren't speaking to one another for 7 years prior to her death. And when she passed away, that was it. That was it for me. And it was a struggle to really get a grasp with life, with a lot of resentment that I had of not preparing myself. So my hard work is the grief recovery, which is why it brings me here today. I'm just excited to share and talk about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Janice, for giving us the opportunity to speak with you and definitely understand what your journey is about and what you're wanting to convey. So I want to just talk to you a little bit about grief recovery. And if you will, please just share with the ladies in the lounge exactly what grief recovery is and what led you to begin that journey to tell your story.
Well, grief recovery, we all, there's life, and, we're all born to die. And, everyone at some point within their lives have lost a loved one. Grief recovery is the process of just going through the process of emotions of coming to terms with the loss. There's various, emotions and ranges from total shock to resentment to anger to and we can linger within that for years. So grief recovery is, we're here to mourn for a moment, but we're not supposed to stay in grief for a long period of time. It is a process, but for some it's something whereas it's not easily to digest and to get a grasp of. So particularly for me, I'll share briefly the thing with my parents. I lost them at an early age, and, life went on, and, I had to go on, of course, but I never really mourned the loss of them. I just, lingered throughout their lives. And it was not until at least a good maybe 5 years ago, after losing them in the early 80s, that I really truly dealt with them being gone and out of my life. I just went day by day, just making it. And I would never talk about, them in essence of what they meant to me. Was angry for such a long time, with God, because of the fact that he took them away from me. I had lots of questions and what have you. But the thing for me was I really didn't have anyone to reach out to talk and to express my feelings, whatever those feelings were. So for me, I feel like that's just a great need, a great need to have a listening ear, whatever those, thoughts may be, and to have someone to listen and help process, those thoughts was really what my heart is is yearning to do, with women.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. You mentioned the fact that you were angry with God. I want to take a moment to focus on that because, when we think of someone passing away, we think of them going on to a better place, and not so much of upset with God doing so, but talk to us a little bit about that, because I've heard people say at the time of grief they are angry with God. And why is that? Is that a natural part of grieving? Can you share that with us?
Well, I think it definitely is. It's the shock. It's the initial shock. It's, of course, I love God. I truly believe in Him, and without Him, I would be nowhere near where I am today. So I truly thank Him, and I thank Him for even just carrying me thus far. But I think for individuals who do experience and they kind of linger in that particular moment of anger, particularly towards God, is that they just get to a point, I know for me, is where I was just missing immensely my family members not being a part of my life, and just regretting that I didn't have enough time. And I think that emotion, and you just have that emotion of not having enough time, that breaks your heart. And you just have these thoughts of, well, why did you? You have questions. We're not supposed to question God, of course. Obviously, He's the supreme being, and, all things are good according to Him. But it's just you get so frustrated and just in missing the loved ones immensely, and questioning yourself, were you the most and the best that you could be for them when you had them here on earth, So that's the thing I think a lot of people go through with their anger process. You have other folks that maybe don't really have a relationship with God initially, so they don't really truly understand the impact, and that could bring about the anger as well. But just getting through, it is a definite part of grief. Whether you stay in that mode or not, that's the question. But I definitely feel like it is a part. It's going to be, something that you have to just get through.
That's right. Losing a loved one can be highly charged and very traumatic. It can be a very traumatic time. And, of course, coping with the loss can be deeply and a personal experience. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that when you are grieving, you have to allow the person that's going through the grief, you have to allow them to have that feeling. And what I mean by that is allow them to feel the way that they do. Don't be in an area of a judgment of telling them, well, it's okay, that, while they were here on this earth, they experienced pain, but they've gone on to a better place and they no longer have that pain. Well, in the time of grief, you have to give the person that space, just as I said, and allow them to feel the way that they feel. What are your thoughts about that, and do you perceive that as being true?
I definitely perceive that as being true. You have to allow the individual, no matter what point and what stage that they're in, to just go through without judgment. And that's one of the biggest things that, it causes some folks not to be able to share, the struggle or their feelings because they don't want to be judged. I mean, oftentimes people feel like, we hear the sayings, oh, they're in a better place and, they're with the Lord and we'll see them again. But we're human. We have emotions. We're still here. Sometimes we really don't want to there's not words to say that's of comfort. And, you hear folks that also sometimes say, well, you have to get to a point where it's been a while now. You got to move on. Well, you can't put a time frame on the process of missing a loved one. Again, we're supposed to mourn at a temporary time frame. We definitely don't want to stay in the grief process where it's going to be a detriment to our physical day-to-day activities. But in remembrance of an individual, and that could be for a lifetime. So allow the persons to be able to express themselves, to be able to talk about their loved ones at any point, at any stage, without any judgment is very crucial and it's very critical. I mean, it's been 30 plus years since my father has passed away, and still to this day, holidays are very, it's a trying time for me, because I always revert back to when I was younger and the things that he would say to me. The same with my mom, holidays where she would have all of my siblings together and we're cooking and we're having family time. And it's been, again, 30 years since she's been gone, but I still reflect and go back to that. And it may be, repeatedly every year the same story or what have you, but my family allows me to celebrate and to honor her with those memories and just talk about it. And I think that's just greatly needed, and that helps an individual through the process.
I love that. And I want to add something to that when we are with family. Let's talk about support, the gather of support, and why support is so important in the grieving process. What are your thoughts about that?
Kathy, support is something, I could go on and on for that. That's something that I really felt when I lost my sister. And it may not be completely true, but it was my thought at that time frame. I felt like I had no support. And what I mean by that is I felt like because of the fact that my sister and I relationship was not the best, and, lots of family members, they knew about it. They speculated. They put, their version, their spin on as to what was wrong with our relationship. A lot of them judged and said, well, it's you, Janice. You're the reason why you didn't have this relationship with your sister. And, I really felt alone after she died, because at the end of the day, it was very minor, the situation, meaningless, that we didn't speak to one another, but it existed. She played a part. I played a part as well. The only difference is I'm still here to share my truth. She's not. She's no longer here. And I got a lot of criticism, and I got a lot of judgment, and it put me in a space where I just felt completely alone till I felt like, will I ever get over this? Maybe I was the callous as to why, our relationship wasn't the way it was, and now I can't make amends. And that was truly very hard for me to deal with. So support is very crucial. It's very critical. It's definitely necessary. But again, being able to express that and talk about it is the catalyst to be able to move forward. If it had not been for my children and my husband that I continuously cried upon and continuously poured out to them how my feelings were with regards to my relationship with my sister, I don't think I truly would have been able to get to the place where I am today to talk freely about it and express myself, and to get to the point where I want to be able to share with others, get the relationships right. Get the relationships right. Love on your family, because tomorrow isn't promised.
That's true. That is so true. I had a chance, Janice, as we were speaking, to do just a little bit of research in reference to grief and how people deal with grief. And what I found very interesting, and of course, Source Nation, if I ever source anything and begin to speak about it within our conversations, I'll let you know where you can go. And this particular site is from gayam.com, and they were talking about grief, and they said that there are 5 stages that people usually go through when they experience grief. And I want to talk about each stage and see if this is something that you've experienced, Janice, or possibly you've helped other people overcome. And they listed the area of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And with denial, they said that your experience is incomprehensible. Initially, you find it impossible to believe the loss of your loved one is real, and you may be numb from that experience. What are your thoughts about denial, and is that a part of the grieving process?
That's a critical part. The stages that we have, we don't necessarily have of grief. We go through them in the exact order per se. You could have the initial shock and, the disbelief that your loved one is gone as the first onset. You can go into the anger. You can get to the point of acceptance, and then you can go back to the now. So it varies for different individuals. But the now for me was very critical because I received a phone call. My sister lived in Florida, and I received a phone call early in the morning. And it, throughout that day, I didn't, decipher that she was gone. In my head, it was like the phone call never existed. That was just something that just didn't happen. She's here. She's here. I'm just going to take the time out to call her. And it was not until maybe a few days later that I just really broke down in acceptance that she was literally gone. So it does happen. It happens for many of us. Even I think for individuals who may experience or know that a family member or what have you would be, let's say, in hospice, and they're preparing for, the death in a sense because they have a terminal illness. Once that happens, you still, in my opinion, you're going to go through the initial shock that they initially are no longer with you. So it's definitely very critical and one of the first components, I feel, of the grief stage.
Okay. The next one, and thank you for sharing that, the next one they mentioned was anger, and this is what they said about anger. They said, as the truth of the situation begins to take hold, it's normal to feel anger and rage. This anger may be directed at yourself, the loved one for leaving, or doctors for not healing your loved one on the event of God. What are your thoughts on that one?
Again, anger, definitely experienced that. My anger was definitely towards not my sisters so much, but with my parents passing on, my anger was geared towards God, as I had mentioned previously. With my sisters passing, my anger was with myself. I blamed myself immensely for maybe even having, she had a heart attack. So I blamed myself because of the fact of our relationship, and it might have put a strain on her, of her health. So I went through the anger and bitter and rage, intense rage with myself with regards to losing her. And I do feel a lot of folks go through that because they seek to try to find some sort of comfort of not within themselves of what has taken place, but they want to maybe perhaps put a blame, if that makes sense, or because of their loved ones being gone. You find a lot of that with individuals who may have lost someone in a tragic incident of an accident of such, or of a murder. Of course, they're going to have a lot of anger and resentment for the situation that's taken place. So that, again, that's another strong component that's definitely a part of the process.
Yes. The next one was bargaining, and they stated that bargaining is it's not unusual for the survivor to cope with the loss by trying to negotiate, usually with their higher power. Because don't be surprised if you find yourself trying to make an if-only deal with God. What are your thoughts about bargaining, and is that some form of grief?
I think a lot of folks, again, if an individual is in a situation where they may be going through a terminal illness, and let's say a child, for instance, you may have a child that's terminally ill, and you want to put your place or put yourself in their shoes and not, God, take me instead of them, let me bear the burden of their illness. So you do go through a lot of bargaining. Bargaining, the people that I've worked with, I've not so much dealt with hearing that they did a lot of bargaining, in a sense, with God and their grief process, but it does exist. It truly does exist as well. Most of the individuals that I've shared with, and they have shared with me throughout recovery, is a lot of the anger and the now, of course, the shock of how things are, and they finally, get to a point. That's what we want to be, is forgiveness and acceptance. And truly, ultimately, is to accept the fact that they are no longer here with us, but, they're here in spirit and in heart. And that's where we want to have peaceful thoughts about and get to a point of celebration. So that's truly where we want to get to within our grief process and grief recovery.
Love that, because they actually listed acceptance as the last one, so you covered that. But the one prior to speaks of depression, and it says the overwhelming sadness you feel is normal, and in most cases will not last forever. It's common to feel as if life will never be the same. What are your thoughts about that, and is that true, too, that you can experience depression?
Well, depression definitely plays a major part. Depression, I feel, is normal within our grief process and recovering from grief. We just don't want to allow depression to overcome us or to get to a point where it's affecting our day-to-day activities, our normal activities. Depression is to me, not being able to express yourself and express your feelings and just holding them and containing them within, which causes, the fact of not being able to talk about issues and things as such. But depression, if it gets to affect the day-to-day activities, that's where it gets to a point where it's really critical, and a person may, need to seek additional counseling, such as myself. For me, I was very, very depressed. The depression, to be honest with you, really losing my parents lasted with me for many years, and I didn't even realize that I was in that state of mind. I just went through day to day, just coping, day-to-day activities and what have you. Of course, I looked at it from during the holidays when I would get sad or think about them even more intensely, and it would be with great sadness. I didn't look at that as depression, but I just looked at it as just a moment of me, just reminiscing and missing them immensely. Where for me, the depression set in even more so with anger after losing my sister. There were days where I didn't even want to get out of bed. I just totally just was enraged with myself of how I handled the situation and the relationship with my sister. So it affected me from day to day. Things that I was involved with, I no longer had an interest. I ate immensely, gained a lot of weight, severe headaches, just emotional distress. So I did go through a lot of that and journey through it. But again, it's a process. Whereas the depression, if it gets to the point where you cannot continue to go through your day-to-day normal activities, then I would recommend anyone to seek further additional counseling.
That great information. Source Nation and the Ladies in the Lounge, we are speaking with Janice Boles tonight. She's giving us some great information in reference to grief. I want to go back because you said some wonderful things there, Janice, and thank you so much for clarifying the stages of grief and what your opinions were on them. But I truly believe once we are beyond the grieving process and we know that life must go on, I feel you must embrace life. Take the time to embrace life. It's okay to think about what has transpired, but I would hope that our loved ones will want life to go on and we begin to live a much better life to keep them in memory. What are your thoughts about that, embracing life once the grieving process is over?
Well, that's the catalyst of basically my chapter that I talk about within the book is the beautiful feeling of healing. And the title of my chapter is That Beautiful Feeling of Healing, Blisters Are Only Temporary. And I use the term of blisters are only temporary because I talk about the symbolic of the foot, our feet. Our feet are here to carry us throughout life, and when we have pain, a struggle or with our feet, it's kind of more so of often talking about, a bad time and we're trying to strive towards the future. Our feet represents a connection with striving and moving forward. So with regards to talking about getting to the point of, recovery and celebration of our loved ones, that's very critical. Our loved ones, they would, if they could come back and talk with us and share with us, they would want us to be at peace. They would want us to continue and move on and move forward with life, being happy, because they are now in an unhappy place. If they can come back and share with us and tell, let us know that it's like, move forward, move on, and enjoy your journey until we meet again. So we have to get to a point of celebration of the loss. And I think that's the critical catalyst with keeping us continuously to move forward and to move on with life. And if we can get to the point of going through the grief process, and of course we're going to be in mourning and we're going to, have struggles where we're going to be angry and, bargain and just reminisce and think about the different essence of when they were here with us. Get to the point of celebrating them and honoring their memory, even if it's in some sort of memorial, some sort of celebration. And I think that will carry us. That will carry us and carry us in spirit of happiness. And when we think about them, from moving from that point, it will be with joy.
I love that. With that being said, let's talk about some of the things that you are putting in place now outside of the book. Are you helping families and individuals deal with grief? And if so, what is it that you've put in place to assist?
Well, what I've done, again, since my journey with my sister, I actually wrote a book back in 2015, and it's called Complicated Grief, My Journey to Peace. So I share within that book the process and the stages of grief that I went through and how I processed that through with my relationship with my sister. And that was the catalyst for just helping me deal, with the loss of her. I have since then, I work with here, I live in actually Fredericksburg, Virginia, so I work as a group facilitator with the Mental Health of America, and I help facilitate small groups with regards to recovery. The recoveries are not geared specifically towards grief recovery. There's different mental aspects of recovery that we work upon. But that encouraged and inspired me to set up my own small groups of grief recovery. So I'm in the process of actually, I have a website. It's called IamJaniceBoles.com. And within that, I'm in the process of actually releasing a volume 2, which will be coming out this spring, of Complicated Grief, the Process. And with that, I'm going to be going more intensely through the different stages of grief. And I'll use that and within my small groups here locally within my community.
Now, with that being said, the chapter has been written. You've gone through the journey, and you help others along the journey. Talk to us about the reception that you're receiving, because, grief can be very hard to deal with as well as talk about. How are people receiving this part of what you have to say in the book?
Well, a lot of folks are, it's helping them to get to the process of really thinking about the current relationships that they have now, and making amends. I think that's the callus of really what my work in my book has sparked for a lot of individuals. Grief is a very difficult subject to talk about, and particularly even as a small group, individuals, it takes a little while to get acclimated to just be able to share your experiences, because, again, so many people, they don't want to be judged with regards to the emotions that they're facing and that they're going through. So I've dealt with a lot of one-on-one individuals where we've gotten to the process of them actually sharing their thoughts and the journeys that they have gone through, and just really more so about the relationships even prior to the loss and what they're feeling now. So it is a very difficult process, but it's a process that's needed, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback with that mere fact of being able to, my story and me being transparent about my story and how I process through gives them the courage to get to the point where they want to be able to, process and share through their experiences as well. So it's good work, and I feel like I'm definitely helping. If I can help one individual just get through, I feel like I've accomplished what I need to accomplish and set out to do.
Love that. Well, Janice, again, thank you so much for coming in again and sharing your journey with us and what you've been able to contribute to the book. Of course, what we like to do as we are wrapping up the conversation is always leave either with some encouraging words or maybe some tips and advice that we have not shared in tonight's conversation. If you wish to contribute, we'd love for you to do so at this time.
Well, I thank you, Kathy B., for the opportunity to share my experience. It's definitely been a pleasure. I think what I want to get out to everyone, especially with this particular time of the year, with us being going through the holidays and the end of the year and the new year coming upon us, is to know that you're not alone within your struggle of dealing with your loss. God wants us to be happy. He wants us to be fulfilled. And the fulfillment of us, he wants particularly on this side before we get to heaven. So if there's relationships that need to be mended, or there have relationships that weren't mended and you've lost someone, don't succumb yourself with so much sadness to the point where you cannot move forward. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Forgive if it may be a situation where you have resentment for someone that you've that has passed on. Just forgive, love, and move forward.
Love that. And if you will, please, Janice, share with the ladies in the lounge and everyone listening tonight, how can we get more information about you and continue to support you?
Well, you can reach out to me through social media. I am on Facebook as Janice Boles. I'm on Twitter as it's Janice Boles, and I'm also on Instagram. And, of course, you can reach me on my website, IamJaniceBoles.com, where I have information with regards to my book that I've previously written and upcoming scenarios of what I'll be doing in 2018.
Awesome. Well, Janice, again, thank you so much for being here with us. I am excited about all the things that you've shared with us tonight, and definitely what you're going to be doing in the new year in reference to this particular topic and your book that you have out already. So, again, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good night. Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there from Miss Janice Boles. She's part of the collaboration of Women Inspiring Nation. And what I love most about Janice in our conversation tonight was the fact that she did speak on the area of grief. And, of course, grief, the grieving process is very hard to accept, and, of course, it's going to be some time. One thing that I love most about the fact is that she did share a story about her sister. She and her sister not speaking prior to her sister's death, and the way that she had to transition through all of that and coming on the other side to where she is now in acceptance and is able to speak about it and help others in reference to that. I love the fact that she was able to triumph over that and helping others deal with grief as well. For more information about Janice, you can go out to Kathy B, Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Definitely we'll be back again next Friday for more excellent and great conversations and dynamic guests. You all have a wonderful evening and be blessed.